Bam, we're live. New podcast slash segment. Not the guys you grew up with myself, Taylor Sleaford. We have Matthew Allen Mahalik. I don't even know what to call you anymore.
You nailed it.
And Tyler Kalasi. Boys, how you doing?
Great.
Fucking phenomenal. Best day of my life.
You've
I don't know why it's
been, it was it like Christmas Eve? Just waiting up for this podcast this morning?
funny. Dude, yeah, exactly. I couldn't focus on my writing this morning. I'm like, I want to talk to the boys.
Nice.
Mondays are for the boys, I guess.
That's
For
it.
the boys. Yeah.
Every day is for the boys.
I actually have a side tangent. If we have time, maybe we'll talk about Santa Claus because I have a big bone to pick. I've started asking everyone this controversial topic. But before we get there, we're going to introduce what is this podcast? Why are we here? What are we doing? I guess I could start off. Do we want to have a time frame of sharing what this means to us? You guys have a time
Yeah.
in mind?
Let's go 1 minute, 60 to 90 seconds.
Oh man, this is why we got another projector in the room. This is great. Matt's like, we'll cap it at 15 minutes. That'll be good.
Yeah. Well, I get an unlimited amount of time. You guys get 90 seconds.
Okay, I'll start off. You guys can kind of time me. So we came up with this name very quickly, not the guys you grew up with. And really, this is a podcast of three best friends who want to hang out, want to connect more. We have great conversation. And we're not the guys that you grew up with. And to me, what that means is we've changed, we've evolved, and we continue to change and evolve. And in a culture that tells you to be a certain way or creates these expectations, we want to break the mold. I know for me, I want to go deep. I know you guys want to go deep. This is why we're friends. So we're not the guys that you grew up with. We're not just following the conditioned path of life. And there's still a lot of aspects of, the boys and hanging out and having fun and not needing to take life so seriously, and aspects of like growing up and camaraderie and sports and those sort of things. And so the intention of this podcast is three best friends who are very mindful and are committed to growth. And we also have our own different arenas of specialties, zone of geniuses. We're all entrepreneurs. We run different styles of business. And yeah, we're just going to organically see where it goes. That's what I got.
Nice work. 66 seconds. Way to
Wow.
go, buddy.
That was good.
Taylor, I knew we were best friends, but I didn't know if Tyler and I were officially best friends yet. I don't know if we said it to each other.
We're here. We're here
I
now.
just announced it.
Taylor did it for us.
I can
Love
see
it.
things. It's part of my design.
Oh, nice play. Nice.
That's right. Tyler, you want to go?
Yeah, I'll go. So I take a little different spin on not the guys you grew up with. I loved when Matt brought it up as a suggested name because I do feel like that's how my life is now. I tried so hardly to assimilate with my friends growing up, and they are still very much so great friends of mine. I love those guys. Amazing memories. I wouldn't trade it. Uh, and as I've gotten older, I've just become more accepting of myself and tried less to fit in with people and just actually tried to find the people that just fit me and align with me the best. And that's what's happened over the last couple of years. But thinking about this name, I've thought more about the actual term guy. Growing up with certain elders and certain males in my life being my own family members, but my father's friends and things like that who taught me what it was like to be a guy and how to live life and how to be successful. And it's different now. I don't want to be what I learned to be from those guys. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Nice. You guys are killing it, man. That was 65 seconds. Not time it sometime here. All right, yeah. I'll time myself. We'll see what happens. No, I agree with everything both you guys said. It's just an evolution of, this desire to change. I think about when I went through my divorce and my ex was like, I moved out. I was really leaning into social media and pursuing my love for the work I was doing. And she's like, you've changed. You're just like, you seem like, like this different Matt. And I'm like, oh man, that fucking hurts so much. And I'm like, it hurt because I felt like I had never been so myself. And it took me a few months to realize, like, oh, thank God I've changed. Thank God I'm not the 21-year-old you started dating who was getting fucked up, every weekend or, trying to get blacked out in New York City and all this stuff. And I'm like, thank God I've changed. And I think that's what it is like, I have a friend coming into town in a week or two, and it's like, he'll want to, drink Bud Lights and, go out and maybe not really go out, but just like drink and, do what we did, honestly, sitting in the basement of my parents' house, drinking a 30 of Keystone and watching, Superbad for the 100th time, which, like Tyler said, it's like fun memories I would never change. Like, I love them so much and cherish them, but it's just not it's not the things that interest me anymore. I love, Taylor, like you said, going deep and really like asking these life questions and uncovering and also having fun too. Like, can still have a beer, can still do all that stuff. So it's just evolved. I'm over 90 seconds. I felt my watch vibrate. Okay, and I'm done. But yeah, it's just an evolution. And I think for a lot of people listening, like, yeah, not the same guys. Not like a lot of people I'm meeting out here. Not interested in getting wasted all the time and drinking and wanting to go deep, wanting to like do something, being sober, go out in nature, go to bed early so we can get up early and go for a hike, things like that. Yeah.
I'm done 30 seconds later, wrapping up.
Nailed it.
Yeah, it's cool. I love all of your shares, and I'm glad that we did this because I feel like we're still figuring this out. And part of, in my mind, the whole point of this is one, to just have fun with three guys. One thing with this, I think of being our authentic self and the depth and the things we desire. It can be challenging the older you get to find people who resonate with you in the same way. And so this is partly just an opportunity for us to hang out regularly. We talked about doing this at least once a month for now. And also something that I want to do with this, I'll see if you guys agree or not, is just have like a messy way to share our experiences and our lives and what our conversations look like and what are we growing through and what are we talking about. And it's cool. I think all of us have our own path with the entrepreneurial journey, but with this, we just like went to messy action, speed of implementation. We had an idea, let's do it. Let's kind of just figure it out. We're like figuring out the subtitle or definition of the podcast while we're here. And also not forcing it or needing it to be this thing for this specific reason. And so I think that's something I'm really excited about as well.
Yeah, I'm just excited, like, because you guys FaceTime me with this idea, and you guys are together in Denver in a coffee shop. I moved to Bend, Oregon, and I'm like, fuck, I'm so jealous, and I wish I was together. So, really, it's extra special for me that we get to intentionally come here and chat and hang out, and yeah, I'm here for it. I mean, people who listen to any of my stuff know I'm down to get vulnerable and share what's going on, and excited to have a space to do that with you guys.
All right. I have a quote I'd love to read you guys if you're interested.
I love
Something
quotes.
Yeah, let's hear it.
that's top of mind. So I'm reading this book. It's called Soulcraft. And the subheading is Crossing into the Mysteries of Nature and Psyche. And this guy actually, I think it was like some professor or something. He lives in Colorado and he leads vision quests in Colorado and Utah, more of like a modern day vision quest. And if you don't know what a vision quest is, it is typically, I think, 3 days and 3 or 4 days out in the wilderness. You don't have like technology, you have minimal equipment, you don't have books, you don't have anything, and you're only drinking water typically. And it's this like initiation, this rite of passage to connect more to your soul or the spiritual world or all of this, and very common in like Native American tribes and indigenous cultures. And it could be like from boy to man, it could be if you're going through something, a different stage of life. And side note, I'm going to do a vision quest at some point after reading this book. I feel really called to it. But
My immediate thought was that I need a vision quest ASAP.
I might have to see if I can talk Amelia into doing an episode with us to talk about our human design together.
Oh, yeah.
Because big manifesting generator.
Wait, you know what I was just thinking about is that it's a leap year or it's not a leap year. We're not leaping anything. We're getting a day. Anyway, we have an extra day this year, February 29th. And first of all, that should be a national holiday, a worldwide holiday. Like, we have an extra fucking day. We should not be working. And now I don't have any calls that day. I'm like, I believe it's a Friday. And I'm like, I might have to just peace the fuck out. Take the day off, go on a vision quest. Take
I
some
love it.
mushrooms.
24-hour vision quest.
You don't have any calls because it's leap day and it's not fit. It's like not on your schedule because it's a leap day, or you just don't have any calls coincidentally.
It just, yeah, it worked out that way.
Oh, okay. I thought in December of 23 you were like, oh, that's the 29th. I don't usually take calls on the 29th of February.
That's a good point. I usually don't.
Touche. So basically, this book talks about this like journey to soul and all these processes for like going into initiation and just learning about yourself or whatever. And I'm in this part that's talking about the shadow, which you guys are both in my men's group. So Matt, we've done some shadow work, and then Tyler, and now in the initiation, we've started to talk about it and continue to talk about the shadow side of these archetypes. But there's this quote from Robert Bly. So it says, the American poet Robert Bly says our first 20 years are spent stuffing 90% of our wholeness into the long black bag we drag behind us, and the rest of our life attempting to retrieve those items. The bag is long because it's so full. It's black because we can't see or understand its contents, and we drag it behind us, like our literal shadow, because we tend to walk toward the light, and because there is no alternative. It is, after all, a part of us, despite our reluctance to acknowledge it. And I just thought that was a really cool way of describing the shadow. And I'll read that first part. The first 20 years are spent stuffing 90% of our wholeness into the long black bag we drag behind us, and the rest of our life attempting to retrieve those items. So I've been really sitting with that, and especially like some of what we talked about, not the guys that we grew up with. And I feel part of, at least where I'm at, and this podcast is like stepping more into my authenticity and like digging deeper into the bag, if you will, of like, who am I and what is the fullest expression of myself. And there's another quote from a mentor of mine that says, it's not who you are, it's what you learned. And if you learned it, you can unlearn it. And it just really resonated with me, but I'm just curious if you guys have any thoughts or how that lands for you.
Yeah, I think it's so true that we're just uncovering how to be ourselves, spending our whole lives, what to do, who to be, who to not be, by our parents, teachers. I know part of my story is like, was really good at math, and that was nurtured a lot. And even in high school, I really loved these creative writing classes, but no one took notice of it. I didn't really lean into it. I didn't really like reading. But here I am now, a storytelling coach and a marketer, and a lot of what I do is writing. What really came up for me, my first thought, I was so curious, because if we're like shoving 90% of our true selves into the bag, I'm so curious about what you guys think. What is your 10% that you never let go of, that didn't get shoved in that bag?
Great question. Only kind you ask.
That's right.
Wow. I haven't thought. My first thought when he read it was like scared. Like I'm afraid to do that. I'm afraid to be 70, 80, 90 years old and feel like there was things left on the table. One of my outward fears that I tell people, and I have for a long time, is I don't want to regret things. I don't want to regret massive things. I don't want to be 50 and be like, damn, wish I did that when I was 30. I don't want to be 80 and be like, God damn, I wish I did more of this or less of that. I know there will be small regrets, but I'm trying to talk through that thought and also try to work through what I feel like my 10% is, but I don't have that. I don't have that right now.
I can take a stab at the 10%. I mean, I think, yeah, Tyler, to your point, part of the reason I am the way that I am, I think early on, Tyler, we haven't known each other as long. You're like, wow, this guy goes deep. And it's just at this point, I'm like, I think about that all the time of when I'm 80 or I'm on my deathbed, like that's actually how I make decisions a lot of times. Like, will I regret
Yeah.
this? Whether it's hard or fun or uncomfortable. So I so appreciate that, where it's like making the most. And even too, damn, I really think about that quote from The Way of the Superior Man. We're reading this in the men's group, David Data. I don't know if you've gotten that far, Tyler, but it's like, Matt, you might remember it. It's like, if this is your last moment, what is the texture feeling of it if you're like dying? Are you going to pull it up?
Yeah, you want to pull it up? I'll get it.
Yeah, I'll talk about it while you pull it up. But it's like, and in the context of this chapter is like doing, and especially as the masculine, like to-do list, checking things off, like getting things done. But then do you have it?
Yeah, I have it.
I'll let you read it, and then I'll share.
It says, if you were to die right now, what would be the texture feeling? What would be the feeling texture of your last moment? Are you feeling the innate mystery of existence so that your last moment would be one of awe and gratitude? Is your heart so wide open that your last moment would dissolve in perfect love? Or are you so absorbed in some task that you would hardly notice death upon you until the last instant, whoosh, and everything is gone?
Yeah, something about that language, the feeling texture of your last moment. Like, it just fucking hit a dagger to my heart. And I'm like thinking about all the times I'm just chilling on my couch scrolling social media, or just or like creating suffering and anxiety around things that I have to get done today that don't really matter. So yeah, it's definitely interesting to have that frame of mind.
I like the idea that, like, Tyler and I talked about this when I had him on my podcast, and it was like, you have to do the work. Like, there's some stuff you just have to do, and, maybe you can't afford an accountant, so you have to do your own taxes. I love the line where he says, is your heart so wide open that your last moment would dissolve in perfect love? And I'm like, how do we do things where we're just so full of love? Or, like, are we going, like, that's where we get to practice, I think, the 90% that's in the bag, that we're blaming and shaming ourselves for being this way, or whatever it might be. And it's like, some of the work that I've learned this year from my mentor, Flynn Skidmore, which is like, okay, if I want to experience love, let's say, or joy, or maybe even confidence, then when I'm pouring my coffee in the morning, can I pour my coffee with confidence? And then the parts of you that show up and say, this is silly to be pouring your coffee with confidence, like, oh, that silly part, that's that like shameful part that now in the act of pouring coffee, you get to meet and show immense amount of love to. And in doing that, you get to start to heal those parts. And then it allows you to show up with more confidence in other areas of your life. But you get to show up with confidence in such a low stakes environment. Pouring coffee, no one's around, who cares? But you're still going to show up and call it silly. It's like, okay, so it's actually not everyone's judgment you're worried about, it's your own judgment. And you can notice that when you're pouring coffee because no one's there to watch you do it. And I really, so how are we now, like, this stuff that's in the bag, in the shadows that we can't see, like, I think we do see it all the time. It's like these ideas of, Tyler, I love so much, like, that's my message of not living a life of regret. But then we're still afraid to do things, and we have all this fear, and maybe it's fear of judgment and all that stuff. And it's like, can we, like, the bag is black, but we can see in it a lot of the time. So we can see where we're lying to ourselves or convincing ourselves that we shouldn't do this, for whatever reason. And that's where it's like, in this moment, if this is my last moment, what is the feeling texture of this last moment? Would it dissolve in perfect love? And can I do this thing with perfect love for myself?
I think that you're really self-aware, and so for us,
I'm not the guy you grew up with, man. I'll tell you that much.
exactly.
Well
And
played.
I'm like, I don't want this to shift into talking shit about the people I grew up with, but yeah, to say that we see it all the time, I think that's a really conscious statement to say. Like, we might see it, but we don't acknowledge it, or we don't accept it, or like maybe we keep it in the bag. And that's where, like,
Great point.
the shadow comes out. Because I was reading something recently too about projection. Like when we project onto others, anytime we project onto others, that's like a big awareness of like, oh, this is our shadow, you know? Someone says something to us and we project like, oh, don't criticize, or I don't know, someone says, why are you always late? And then we're like, well, you're never late, or you're always late. You're never on time, right? We're projecting because we don't want to see that part of us. We don't want to accept that part of us. So we're like it's actually creating space from that, you know? So I think that's part of the process of what you said, even with pouring coffee with more love. But can you also, you know, see your blind spots or your anger or your rage or your judgment of others? Can you hold that with love? Can you see that and be like, man, where did this come from? Like this probably came from wanting to feel safe. You know, this probably came from a place of, you know, being scared or wanting to fit, wanting to belong, you know, at an early age of like getting shaped into society. Like I will never forget, I've brought this up a handful of times, but I think it was like 6th or 7th grade. And at this point, you know, didn't really have a cell phone. I don't think I had one. I'm an only child, so I don't have like older siblings to know about, you know, clothing and style and what's in trend and what's not or whatever. And I remember showing up first day of school, decked out in like my surf clothes. I had Etnies shoes, like rip curl, just like stoked. I'm like, got new clothes. Mom hooked it up. Let's go. And then all of a sudden I look around and I went to a private school and everyone is wearing Hollister and Abercrombie and they've got 2 polo shirts on and the polos are popped. And I was mortified. And in that moment, I couldn't really understand it, but I was like, oh, fuck, what happened? Like, I can put myself back into that little boy. And at the time, I didn't know, but it was like, I felt like I didn't belong. I didn't get the memo. Like, something was wrong with me. And I will never forget this to my day. I went home, and I don't know what I told my mom, but, like, we went shopping the next weekend. And she let me get some new clothes. And, like, to think about how much compassion she had and understanding that I didn't get, but like it's like the silliest thing, but like that meant so much to me, you know, because I felt like I had to mask parts of me with an external cloak, if you will. So I think that's part of the process of looking into the bag to actually, the first step is being aware that we have these parts, and then we can start to filter through, you know, loving them or letting go of them or whatever.
Yeah, Taylor, you said it was silly, but it's not silly at all. Like the thing we want most is love, safety, belonging, you know, to feel like we're accepted. So to have that immediate desire to access safe belonging through the clothes you're wearing, like that makes total sense. It's like the opposite of it being silly. And I think this is like the work. So you said like I'm self-aware, like this is the work. Like anything I'm saying, I probably wouldn't have said 6 months ago or 3 months ago. But finding like, can I trust myself? If I want to wear like Hollister and we just said like Billabong, my surf clothing, you know, in an environment where everyone's wearing Abercrombie, like, can I trust myself to own that? You know, and I think that's constantly the work. Like I made that video about my mullet. It's like, are you worried about what people are going to think of you? I'm like, yeah, of course. And that's never going to stop. The work is to just do it anyway, to trust myself that I can love myself, I can be there for myself, to just fucking do it. And so I think that's the uncovering of what's in that long bag is these slow little bits, you know, having friends like you guys, therapy, like other coaches, to look at those, like, to have someone from the outside see where you might be lying to yourself or hesitant in some areas where you don't think you are. And like, just this past weekend, I just made a reel about it. So much rejection energy that I've been having around certain things. And that came from Flynn, who I mentioned earlier. I was like, wow, I've been rejecting like a lot of things in an effort to stand out. And the rejection energy, I think, has not been feeling good. And then in that, I'm like, oh, where else is rejection energy showing up? I'm like, I've been rejecting selling. And I'm rejecting selling because I want to fit in this identity that I don't have to do it. That my content's so good, I don't even have to sell. It's just so good that you are going to buy from me anyway. And it's not getting me what I want. And my content alone doesn't help people as much as it could if they worked with me or if they joined my membership. And so like, who the fuck do I think I am that, I'm better than anyone else. I don't have to sell. Look at my content. It's like, that it was such steeped in rejection energy. And that's just something I learned, less than a week ago. Honestly, I think it was Friday. And it's so cool to then, okay, now I get to spend the time, like, I spent all day Saturday journaling on it. Not all day. Spent maybe over an hour journaling on it and uncovering what that looks like and what that means and what am I trying to get out of this, belonging from my rejection. If I reject this thing, I belong to now a certain group, right? People with money issues. Rich people are evil. That's just you trying to fit into this other group. And we're just always trying to belong. And I feel like that's a huge source of it.
Yeah,
I got to hear what's cooking for Tyler over here.
Two things are cooking, and one of them Matt kind of sparked here at the end. One is, I have a limited understanding of the shadow relative to both of you, but I see the shadow as different than the hidden self, meaning there's shadow pieces of every person of these archetypes, but there's also a part that you're purposefully hiding from yourself, right? Like traits that you don't want to accept because you are trying to reflect whatever your friends are doing as a kid, right? You're just trying to assimilate. And I think we are so subconsciously consumed with allowing our hidden self to come out, wanting that to come out even though we're hiding it, that we don't actually make room to or have energy or space to enjoy life. And then once we actually enjoy life and love those moments and actually enjoy every feeling, every sensation, that now makes space for the shadow to come out. So we spend so long hiding parts of ourselves, which creates, this exacerbation of the shadow. We never give ourselves a chance to really, like you said, let it come out. And I think part of that is because so many people spend their life being a mirror instead of having mirrors. Being a mirror for other people, I'm just trying to do what everyone else is doing, look like everyone else, have a job like everyone else, instead of things like journaling, which is a self-reflecting mirror. Having friends like you guys, which are self-reflecting mirrors. You're not going to have a 13-year-old friend who says, "Hey, Matt, you've been kind of riding the highs and lows lately, brother. Like, what's going on?" You're just going to have a 13-year-old friend who's like, "Sick, dude, nice job." And they're not going to tell you anything that needs to be worked on, needs to be looked at, needs to be addressed. You both have been doing that for me for the last year or so, but I've been working on doing that for myself. And when you don't have that opportunity, you don't ever realize like anything is, we could say, fixable. Anything is improvable.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I mean, the shadow, there's multiple aspects. Like we probably have 10 different shadows, So part of the shadow is also what we suppress. That can be like one of our shadows. But yeah, what you said about the mirror really struck a chord for me. Because I think that was a lot of my life of suppressing aspects of me or trying to, it's like, yeah, it's the clothes analogy. It's like hiding, certain clothes that I had or trying to put on certain clothes so that I fit in this world. And even now, I'm 33, a life coach, a men's coach, leadership coach, and I'm still noticing like where I could be more authentic. And I think, to your question earlier, Matt, of like, what's the 10%? I don't know. What comes to mind now, I'm definitely gonna have to sit with that question, is the authentic part that always came out that was true to me was also something I constantly fought. And I think it was my like projectorness, if you will, like observing, witnessing people, seeing things, needing space, the introverted nature, liking one-on-one time, wanting solitude, like all of that. And I think that was the authentic part because it was just like, it was so me that I could not be it. But it's also, most of my life was this tension between like, okay, trying to fit in, trying to be life of the party, trying to be more energetic, try to be more outspoken. And that's why, it was like 2 or 3 years ago, we had Amelia on our old podcast, Modern Happiness, and she talked about being a projector. And I was like, whoa, this feels like what I've always known. It just gave me permission. to be that, you know? And I think this year I named one of my words, like naming the year, is ownership. And I'm continuing to own more parts of myself. And part of that is like how I want to interact with people. Actually, something recently in the past week I've realized is owning and accepting how committed I am to growth. Like, I just fucking love growth. And I really believe it's part of who I am, and my destiny is to grow personally and also be a guide for others. And I think I felt this like shame or guilt for like not having more friends or going to parties on the weekends and like learning more or working out, or like I feel like, okay, well, I got to get to a point. I think I shoved it off for a while of like, oh, well, you're building your business, that's okay. But then just being like, oh, I'm supposed to go to like these concerts and these things and all these people are traveling and whatever, and just kind of realizing like, actually, I like this life. I like learning. And there is a balance where sometimes I do overdo it and I want to have time for, you know, connection and play and that sort of thing. But it's been a new awareness of like, cool, I'm just like, I think that's part of who I am and that's what I'm here to do. And so it's interesting that we've got on this this vein of authenticity, and I'm just noticing how I'm still learning and realizing. And yeah, I'll pause there for now. I got plenty more that I could talk about, but
I want to hear your 10% before I give any more thoughts there over there. Okay, like the guy that's here.
Um, my 10% is has probably been my energy.
probably.
Hey yo, first one of the call.
Well, I think so because I would say probably is accurate because who the fuck knows? You know, I don't know if this has always been my
Touche.
authentic, like, you know, maybe I learned to be energetic somewhere, and like even sometimes, you know, how many times I get complimented for my energy, and I'm like, is my ability to just be loud actually me just covering up how nervous I am? You know, and if I was really being authentic, I might slow down and take a breath, but like that seems scarier to be present than just be like, "What's up? Oh my god!" Ah, you know. Um, and I don't know if spending time trying to figure out if that's true or not is even worth my time. It's really just understanding like, does showing up this way energize me? Do I enjoy it? Yes, then fucking let's go. Like I don't need to like know if it's right or wrong. I just like it and I get to like it. Um, but I tried to think of like, because I was a really shy kid. And I think that was just mostly just nervousness to not be so loud. And I never had the classic thing of somebody being like, "You're too loud, don't take up space." At least from what I can remember, I just think from a safety mechanism, I was like, "Don't be too loud." Like let's like I even now I remember when I moved to Colorado and started at the gym I coached at. It was like 3 months of just like who's this crowd? Who are the people here? You know, how do they act? And in the end, whether it's 3 months or a day or whatever, I'm like very chameleon like. But at the end of the day, once I get comfortable, I just end up being myself and loud and making inappropriate jokes and you know things like that. And so I really do feel like that's the 10% for me. And part of my practice again is like coming back to that wholeness of how do I show up in a situation where I can just fully be myself, or as part of being myself, being a little reserved at first, so that I can make other people feel safe. Because if I just come in hot, they're gonna feel like they don't have space to talk, and that's not what I want. What I want is people to feel safe and that they can talk with me and share. And so maybe this is the perfect version of me to come in a little bit easier, feel out the energy, and then as I get people comfortable, then I can be my full, authentic, loud self. Or I shouldn't say full authentic because the whole thing is the authentic self. I'm having this realization right now on this call, which is super fun. Um, yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, oh, I can just love the part of me who comes in with the like with a more grounded energy of allowing people to feel seen, so that they feel more comfortable, so that then I can allow them to feel comfortable as I get loud and crazy.
Can I offer a quick reflection before Tyler shares?
That's why I love you.
That's why. Oh.
It's one of the reasons,
Um,
and not the man bun.
Actually, this might not be new because we talked about this last year, snowboarding. But I remember when we first became friends during COVID and we hang out all the time, and then people would kind of meet you or know you or see you on Instagram, and then I would talk to them, and they're like, "Oh yeah, his energy, it's so high," and I'm like, "Yeah, it is." And also, like the Matt I know is like just calm and grounded a lot of the time. Like I see both, and so I see what you're saying. And then I remember you, me, and Anthony. I think we were at Outer Range, and I gave you a reflection that you're on social media. It was like you kind of got leaned into this season of like always loud, always high energy. What's up, guys? How we doing? And it to me it didn't feel authentic because it's like you're not always like that. Like you are like that. It's not like you were being something completely untrue. And I think the conclusion, if I remember correctly, what we came up to was like everybody said that to you, like about your energy, and there was this like subconscious belief of like, oh, I have to show up that way. I have to be that guy, you know? And so it's cool hearing your
Wow.
reflection of like, yeah, that is you. And asking yourself like, oh, when and why? And like, this is just the constant, life inquiry of like, oh, why am I showing up this way? Because the same for me, like you guys get to know me. There's a moment where you're like, Taylor won't shut up. What are you talking about? Like I've had people close to me my whole life say that at points where they're like, you're an introvert. What? And so there's a time and a place. And so, yeah, it's just cool to hear you, what sounds to me like getting clarity on like, okay, how can I be more in touch with choosing what's authentic in that moment versus maybe trying to muddle something else that's coming up.
I'll never forget when you said it to me at Outer Range, and I think about it all the time. And I think that shows up more in my content now, and maybe even less of the energy is like the high, loud energy. I think the energy is still there, but yeah, I still think about that all the time. And I remember when I started when I was coaching for maybe about a year in Denver, my first year, and then my fiance at the time came in and meeting some of the members and stuff, and she's like, is Matt just like crazy goofball, like making jokes the whole time while he's coaching class? And they're like, no, he's like pretty attentive and serious. And I'm like, and all of a sudden I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, that's so true. I get in like this coaching mode, and it's like, can't joke, like we're working. And I noticed myself being like, damn, like I want people to think I'm funny. I want to bring that joy, and like I don't want to be known as like the super serious coach. And I was like, how do I incorporate that? Because it doesn't feel like the place to be the funny. And I think I started to a little bit more. But yeah, it was like, oh, it has to be one or the other. And it's like, no, it doesn't have to be. Or like this part of me is super serious when they're coaching, part of me who's like loud and funny outside of coaching. And how do I incorporate them? It's like, I don't really need to even worry about trying to incorporate
Yeah.
it. It just like get to just show up in that moment as I see fit, and just get to love myself for how I'm showing up.
Yeah, we tell ourselves stories, we make up stories, and then we spend all this time trying to justify that story. And the story may have come from something valid, something true. Like, yeah, Matt is an energizing dude. He's full of energy, and he recognizes that himself. So when he goes to coach, he tries to be the opposite because he's telling himself a story that he doesn't need to be like that. When he's coaching, he shouldn't, right? And then, yeah, you get caught up in this like, okay, well, how do I match that? And I found that with myself growing up. I think I always recognized that I was someone who likes to be against the grain. And that's the way I told myself what it was this whole time, was just I didn't like the status quo. I didn't like standards. If someone tried to outline something, I would try to do the opposite of it. And even to this day, sometimes I see that as a negative thing because I grew up almost being told it was a bad thing, like, oh, rebellious type of situation. But especially in the last like week, just learning a little bit more about some of this stuff that Taylor and I have been talking about around human design, I'm realizing that part of it was just me listening to myself first and then applying what society thought I should do on top of that. But I was telling myself that was me going against the grain, going against society, and still now sometimes I internally reprimand myself for being like that. Like, oh, why? Sometimes I wish I could just think the way everyone else thinks. You know, I'm not sure if you guys have thought that, like being an entrepreneur and living this risky life, in this unstructured life to some degree. Sometimes I've sat there and thought, like, man, what would it be like to just do normal people stuff every day for 5 days a week? Like, there's got to be some comfort in there, like that dude we saw on Instagram. Like, it looks a little comfy, right? He just goes to work, he slides his laptop out of his bag every day. Like, it looks great.
I fucking can't stand. I had to unfollow him. He never smiles. I'm like, dude, you're not happy. Like, there's no way. I don't
Right,
believe it.
exactly. But I can't help. I grew up in the quintessential upper middle class, like vest wearing, button down. Everyone went into finance or tech. That's where I came from. And I'm the guy who was like reading How to Survive books in the woods, like trying to dwindle wood sticks together to make a fire. Like, never dressing the same as any of my friends. I was just so different, but I tried so hard to be that guy in the video. I thought that was my life was going to be like that. Even though I so badly didn't want that, as I moved away from that, I thought I was doing something wrong and tried. I even tried to get a degree that I thought was close to that, a doctor, but not a medical doctor, because I knew that wasn't me. But, luckily I've manifested that life into something that I truly do love. But yeah, having a little bit of a thought process right now as we talk. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've all thought what you're saying, and by no means for everyone listening to this is our route the right route. If you genuinely love, your desk job or whatever you do, or you work on the family farm or whatever, cool. But I think more the point is, I've had those thoughts of like, oh man, what if I was just doing this? What if I didn't have these stressors or these challenges or whatever? And I've done that. I fucking did it, and I was miserable, and I was depressed, and I was sad. And one of my teachers once said, it takes more energy to be something you're not than it does to be you, even though the world might not see it. And yeah, Tyler, I so resonate with what you're saying. Even being a projector, like, not having the same level of energy as the world around me, and like wanting time alone and not staying up late and going out and all these things. I'm like, I just want to fit in. I just want to be like this. But ultimately, I think part of this conversation is it's actually freeing when you get clear on who you are, and then you can step into that. There's going to be challenges no matter what, I believe, in life. Like, there's going to be hardship, and a lot of times we just create our own suffering. Like, I saw this, I think you guys have probably seen it. Mark Bell reposted this on Instagram, but there's this comedian that talks about mindfulness when he was a kid.
Yeah.
Like, didn't have cell phones,
So funny.
didn't have anything.
I saw that.
He's like, I didn't know I was a fucking guru at 10 years old because I was mindful. He's like, this generation is the post-rewind generation, because if you ever rewound a VHS to return it to Blockbuster,
You just gotta sit there. Yeah, he's like, you go on the toilet without a phone, you're being mindful because you got nothing else.
Yeah. He's like, I don't remember the last time I just took a shit and just took a shit. It's probably been a decade. But yeah, it's interesting where, like, I think we create a lot of our own suffering and by these stories, like you said, Tyler, these stories. And it comes back to even what you said earlier, Matt, of like, we all want to belong. Like, a lot of my clients that I work with, as we pull back the layers, I mean, actually this happened on our men's group last week, Tyler. I won't talk about who it was, but there was something about proving, this person was talking about proving themselves. And then when we pull that back, it's like, oh, well, if I prove myself or if I succeed, then I'll be loved. We all want to love, we want to belong, we want to be accepted, we want to be a part of the tribe, And I also remember, going back to childhood, that there was a delineal point in my life where, like, I just spent time at home by myself with my family, or like I had one best friend growing up. And ignorance is bliss. I didn't know anything else. And I'm like, cool, it's the weekend. We're going to do some yard work. We're going to go out to eat, and like, we'll just hang out, whatever. And then all of a sudden you get older and you realize, like, oh, that group of people went to the movies and I didn't get invited. and that person's doing this, and these people are hanging out, and there's parties, and then there's, and then you have MySpace and social media, and you can actually watch this. And then like all of a sudden, I felt like things were wrong, But it's like up until that point, I wasn't missing anything. I wasn't like sitting at home being like, man, I wish there was more to this life,
Hey,
I wish I was on.
I gotta read you something. It's currently in the background on my phone. It's from The Creative Act by Rick Rubin, and he talks about childlike superpowers. Childlike superpowers include number one, being in the moment. Number two, valuing play above all else. Number three, having no regard for consequences. And number four, being radically honest without consideration and having the ability to move freely from one emotion to the next without holding on to a story. And I have probably 2 summers ago, I was training for my first ultra, and I was just running, in the summertime, could smell barbecues, could hear kids' laughter in the distance, could hear the crickets. I just feel this the smell, the smell of a summer breeze and grass, and I'm like, I just had this pit in my stomach of this insatiable desire to be a little kid again in the backyard of Connecticut, in the safety of my backyard. My mom's cooking dinner, my dad's working, all I have to do is sit back here and play wiffle ball with my friends. All I have to do is hit this ball and just have so much fun sliding in the grass, running, playing, and there's no thought about school or a project, at least what I can remember. I'm talking about summertime, school's not even in session. There's no oh no, school's coming in a month, we only have 1 month left. There's just none of that. And I am so curious about, is that just unattainable? That feeling, that lightness that comes with being a kid. And I get glimpses of it sometimes, I feel like when I play baseball, or if I'm on a trail run, you get a little runner's high, and I'm just like, everything is fucking perfect right now. There's moments of it, but man, it probably doesn't last more than a minute, maybe, and then I start, if I'm running and I stop, and I just literally stop and smell the roses, which I've done before. And I could think of this one time on my run, there was roses, I stopped, I smelled them, all these beautiful things were happening, and I just was so happy. But then, I don't know, I kept running, and I started thinking about other shit, and started creating all those stories about what I have to do, and what this meant, what that meant. And as a kid, man, it just seemed like you're just so present, and it's I just so badly want to, how do I hang on to that in every moment, right now, even now, talking, and it's thinking about, is this even valuable to talk about? Where's this podcast going? And then you guys are going to talk, and I'm listening, but then I'm also thinking about my response, and then my schedule's over here. So it's all right, I got to do this after we hang up and get my shoes on, go to the gym, and it's fucking non-stop. And it just didn't seem like that as a kid, and is it even possible to get back there?
I have nothing in my life that's fun and only fun. I have a lot of fun things in my life, but this is making me very sad that I have nothing in my life that I do only for fun without a motive, an objective, an ambition, right? I enjoy running. I enjoy strength training. It gives me so much joy, but I'm only doing those things to solve a problem or to get something done.
Ooh, I fucking love this.
This is not okay. That's not okay.
Can we commit to, Taylor, do you feel like you have something that's just fun?
No.
Yeah, I'm asking Taylor.
I'm not committing. I'm not committing to doing something for fun to now stick to a commitment, because that's just gone.
Oh, okay.
Now I'm gonna be oh, cool, 5 days of this.
You don't have to do it, but can you just go do something for fun? Okay, if you were to do something that was just fun, what would it be?
Gosh.
I mean, I totally feel this, because Matt, this has been our conversation where I'm he's come play baseball. You grew up playing baseball. Come play baseball. I'm nah, bro. If I'm not working to get to the next level, to get to the minors, to get to, whatever, I'm not doing it. And it's interesting. I'm at this point, and this might tie in, where I honestly have been struggling for probably 2 or 3 years now for what do I do for fitness? Because movement and fitness has been such a part of my life, and I like the progression, and it was CrossFit for so long, and I just feel like that is completed. And then I got into running and triathlon, and then tried jujitsu for a little bit, and then I was going to do this 100-mile race, and then been thinking about jujitsu again, and then I'm like, is it climbing? Is it something else? And I can't find. I feel like a part of me is missing because I don't have this in my life, but like I also don't like do well when it's like just running to run, or like I don't understand people who just work out and they don't have a plan and they just go to the gym. And also I think there is this tension of like maybe that's a separate problem. But yeah, having things that are fun. And to tie in what you're saying, Matt, something I've been really sitting with, and this is what my teacher John Wineland talks about, is a big part of masculine practice is to be a yes to every moment, to be open, have your heart open, like you were talking about from that quote. And I've noticed myself, I've been planning for this retreat that I'm going to in a month, and booking flights, and I just feel like there's all these things I have to do to take care of that, and also like a lot of anxiety because we're gonna be like out in the middle of nowhere, and I don't know what we're gonna do, and it's probably gonna be fucking hard, and like, you know, whatever, all these stories, and I'm like, can I just be happy now? Because to your point, Matt, like, will we ever get there? I find myself like always looking to the next thing, and I think it's a practice like you were talking about with the coffee. Can I pour this coffee with more love? Can I be more in love with this moment? You know, on this call with my friends, and then practically that's like, I would say snowboarding is like the closest thing. But even with that, I find myself, if it's not like a big powder day, I'm like, all right, well, I got to work on my 180s. I got to work on my butters. I got to, you know, which I don't want to make myself wrong for that. But yeah, I have visceral memories of being a kid and playing in the grass and just like being lost forever. So I don't know. All that to be said, I don't know.
I think there's a natural like we think so much about like needing to get better. Like, all right, Taylor, I know we've done like, all right, like I got to do 20 180s on this run before I get down. Like I got to hit 20. Like can't finish the run without hitting 20. Where, like I don't know, there's value in that. And then, but like as a kid, when you're, you know, I can see myself playing in the backyard. We didn't really play wiffle ball. We played Swift stick. So it was like this yellow stick with a tennis ball. So much more fun. It just goes further, and you know we peg each other with a tennis ball, and you know you just dive for a ball, and like that's you getting better at baseball. You know, my 2023 concept was that I found safety in work, and I didn't feel safe when I played. And so if I was ever anxious or whatever, I would work more. And even if that was working out, like I am making progress towards something, kind of what we're talking about. And I love the idea that not working is the work. And finding myself being able to go for a run, not because I'm training for a race, but just because like this is nothing. This just gets to be me in nature, and just no headphones. I don't need to listen to a podcast at 1.5 speed. I just get to be out here, and like this is the work. And I know even maybe saying that is now taking away from it, but it was just a practice in me of like, stop trying to work so much and start doing things that are fun. Start finding safety and fun. And I'll tell you, like, so many of my runs are just so fucking awesome. And so I love running because of that thought. Because, yeah, like I might be training for a race, but like, I'm just running. I'm just out here running, you know? Like, I play baseball, and there are so many moments where I'm just in center field, and I'm just like, that little Matt would be so fucking, like, okay, I'm not playing for the Mets. That was the dream. That would have been sick. But I'm still playing baseball at 33, and I'm still one of the faster guys in this league, you know, faster than some of the 22-year-olds who are in college playing. And it just gets to be, and like, yeah, of course, I want to get more hits. I want to make sure I catch every fucking ball that comes to me in center field. I want to strike everyone out when I'm pitching. But I think, I mean, this sounds obvious, but you know, our boy Hermosi says we need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. And so it's like we have nothing except this moment right now. And so when I am playing, that seems to be the best way to practice presence, of like I can't do anything. Like when you play a game, there's no practice. You can't be practicing. Like it's not about like, okay, yeah, keep your elbow up if you're hitting. Like that's a reminder, but you don't practice your swing. You now just need to execute. And the only way you can execute the best is to be in that moment so present. And like so when I'm playing baseball and I'm pitching, I can't think about the last pitch. It doesn't do any good. You know? It's like how do I throw this pitch really well? You know? If I'm in the outfield thinking about shit, like I'm not paying attention to the pitch and watching where the ball is placed. So if it's away on a right-handed batter, he might be hitting it towards right field. Like I can take that extra half-second step, which might help me catch the ball or get to the ball. But if I'm not fully there, I'm not fully experiencing it, and I don't know. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. I'm just like the practice of being present. So like truly is. I feel like such man. I was just driving the other day, and I was like worried about shit. And I'm like, I think this is in Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle, but he's like, in this moment, there's nothing wrong. Right now, in this moment, right here, there's nothing wrong. Anything that's wrong is the things you're thinking about that might happen or that you need to go do. But right now, everything's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny even as we're saying this because we created this podcast to hang out more and also do something else with it. Like, we got to come up with a name, we got to define it. Matt's already got the platform and graphics. He's just waiting for us.
I don't have anything, dude. I did such a good job of not pouring into that. I'm just chilling over here.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I think as you were talking, the one thing that comes to mind is all the times we've ridden bikes. Like, I feel like a kid when I'm on my bike,
Yeah.
and I think that's partly why. I mean, I know we have some friends who are big into triathlon, which is cool and all. But yeah, when I've had a group of friends and we just go on a big long bike ride, 30, 40, 50 miles, and it's just like, I think that's what I miss about playing sports, or even like what I did enjoy about CrossFit is like we're doing something together. Even though I did want to get better, I was like working out with this group. And yeah, just having those. I mean, even last year when me and Anthony used to go snowboarding, like those were some of the most fun present days because we're all like outside and in nature and using our body. I'm curious, Tyler, do you feel any of that like when you and Courtney go camping or hiking? Is there still like a mission?
Yeah, that there's still a mission. Quite frequently when we go out, there's a mission, and for a while, that is how I enjoyed the outdoors. Late I would say, college, graduate school, early mid 20s was like we would go hiking, and that's what we did was try to crush a peak, try to finish a peak, try to finish a hike, try to find a lake, and eventually I just got to the point where I was like, I can't. This is too much. Like this is too heavy. You know, Saturday morning, I don't want to have another mission. I just had all these missions. Or sometimes it's just nice when we go for a hike around a lake. I've had the most enjoyment. We have the most laughs when we go for a hike that has no end point. A loop around a lake, snowshoeing, where we're just like, well, we're just going to go snowshoe for 2 hours. We're not going to get to the top because we know we can't. I've had the most fun on hikes where we can't get to the top of a thing, and that's where it's starting to go for us. Our outdoor stuff, introducing camping, even just car camping, has been even better because, again, we have this other thing we need to do. We can't do a crazy hike. We're just outdoors, it replicates when I was a kid, dude. When we were kids, we would go into the woods and we like make up roles, replicating Star Wars or whatever, and then we would just do stuff like campaigns in the woods. Like there was no mission, there was nothing. Matt, I'm not saying it in the way that you do it, but there was no need for me to feel like I had to get media of the thing to show other people that I was doing the thing, right?
Oh fuck! I thought. Oh, dude.
Got him.
Keep going. Keep
From
going.
a place of like malicious intent or clout, not a place of like I'm doing this to show other people how to do it. It's like how many times have we gone on hikes and I have wanted to get to the top, not because I wanted to see the awesomeness, but because I wanted to let everyone know I got my 12th high peak out of 48 in New York or 46, because I wanted to get this really cool picture. I've had conversations with Courtney, where I'm like, man, do I want to do this hike tomorrow because our two friends, Jack and Jane did it a month and a half ago when they lived in Washington? Because that's the only reason I want to do this because I want to check that box too. And it's prevented me, I think, from enjoying a lot of things that we could have enjoyed until now when we've calmed down a little bit because life has forced us to a little bit.
I'm afraid to say this, but it sounds like we need the not the guys you grew up with retreat where we do nothing in the wild.
Ooh,
I am I am I'm planning my brother's bachelor party, and somebody was like, "We need to rent cars." I'm like, "Why do we need to rent cars? You want to drive to Charlotte in the city and like go to bars?" I'm like, "My favorite bachelor parties are when it's the boys just hanging out and bonding." Like I remember my best friend's bachelor party. And there was probably about there's gonna be 16 on this trip. There's probably about that on his. Um, and the best moment is when we were at the end of the night sitting on the floor in front of the couch in a circle. We were wrestling each other and we were passing around a bottle of whiskey. We were just like wrestling, chatting, just hanging out. I'm like, man, like that was play. That was so
those are the
fun. And
best.
I am thinking so much about planning my brother's bachelor party and what it can look like. There's a book called Why We Gather, which I started reading and then just fell out of interest with, but I'm going to listen to it. And it's really setting the intention of like, what are we here to do? And she's like, we just like people like nonprofits host a gala, but they hardly ever even make money. But you just do it just because that's what you do when you have a nonprofit. You just host a gala, and like we just do these things without any consideration for why we're doing them.
Yes.
Networking event, and then people will talk, and it's like everyone's in their own head, and there's no guidance, and it's like everyone struggles really connecting. But if we're really here to connect, then the person leading it should have activities planned for people to like really fully connect. And I think it's just I think I'm thinking about like intention of stuff, like going into the walk, going snowshoeing and being like, we are not going to the top. In fact, we're picking a hike that we can't go to the top. I loved my runs
Yes.
when we had our boy Ryan Dreyer programming for us, and it was like, mine was always like 10 miles today, but he would start just programming time. And I'm like, oh, with a timed run, like I'm not
Oh,
thinking about the
so much
miles
better.
so much. I'm not thinking about the miles. I'm
So
not
much
thinking about
better.
I have to get here and then turn around. Like I just like run until the time's up. And anyway, yeah, I think about this like intentionality behind I'm going to show up because this gets to be fun. I don't have to complete anything. And like I don't know where I was going with the bachelor party thing. I'm just really wanting to like I don't know, Tyler. You're talking about like we just go out and play in like oh my brother and I, we just go in the woods in Connecticut, and just like play in the stream and like look at shit and pick up a rock and those little like potato bugs underneath, and worms and it's like
Yeah.
fucking like there's no intent
Fun fact.
just to explore. Yeah, what's the fact?
Fun fact. I think there's like 20 names for those little roly-poly bugs, potato
Yeah, really.
bugs.
That's
Yeah.
so interesting. But yeah, like I don't know,
Uh,
just like doing shit to do shit. There
dude.
doesn't have to be an intention and like
Yeah.
oh man, is that the society we're in? We just like have to be getting stuff done. But man, I was smiling so big, Tyler, when you were like, or maybe internally smiling. I don't know if I was actually smiling, but internally I was smiling
Check the
of
tape.
like the walks, with the big loops and the snowshoeing. The can't like we are working so hard to have more of those things, but we have those things all the time.
Mm.
And we just like we would prefer to be pouring it into work. And that's what I'm talking about the safety. There's safety in work, but there's no safety in play in just being present. But that's all we actually want, you know?
Yeah, this is it's interesting. I was telling Tyler I texted him this morning. I'm thinking about self-talk acknowledged, joining Movement, the climbing gym, uh, because I've justified for way too long that working out at Omnia for free is worth it, but it's like 30 minutes there, 30 minutes back. It's just like an hour that I don't have, that I don't want to spend for. I mostly work out by myself. I mean, I like doing the CrossFit stuff, so it's super accessible for that. Um, but Movement, it's not that expensive. It's super close. I'm pretty sure there's like a space upstairs that I could co-work. And then I was thinking, I'm like, yeah, I could just go like boulder a couple routes by myself every time I go there. And that's just like more fun. And even this conversation is like, because I quickly was like, all right, yeah. And then the goal will be I'll be doing V7s and then I'll do this. And it's like, no, no, no. Let's just make it like go to the gym to work out. Let that be your thing. And then just like do some routes for fun, however long you want. But it is this tension also, like you said, Tyler, where like I don't want to commit to something that's just fun because I said that I was going to do that, you know? And it's like,
Yeah.
I think that's why I like surfing. I mean, really summertime activities, camping for me is great because yeah, I'm just there. It's just kind of like you're here. You go hike, I could just sit by water forever, you know? But and like surfing, it's just like being out there in the water is so great in itself that like if I catch waves, cool. If not, but yeah, I think really it just pulls me back to this mindfulness of like, cool, how can I be a yes more to this moment? How can I embrace more of this moment? Because I'm the worst defender of, okay, when I get here, when this happens in my business, when I get these clients, when I get this, when I make this money, when I build this thing, and then it's like every fucking day I have 3 things on my to-do list and I'm like, okay, well here's 7 more I could do. And like, that's part of the reason I told you guys I quit the 100-miler, because I found myself being like, oh, I can't wait till April's over. I'm like, I don't want to live my life that way, you know, but I don't think it has to be necessarily all these things I'm turning down, but it's like, oh, can I just enjoy like and embrace and be a yes to even the sadness around this conversation, like the aspect that's sad about being a kid that was so beautiful. It's like, oh, can I just be a yes to that and welcome that feeling and that emotion right now and not wish it was different and just accept it and necessarily need to change it. I think that's what's coming through my mind.
Yeah, I've been bouldering twice since I got here, and that's 2 more times than I think I ever did in Colorado. And I was moving to Colorado for 5 years, saying I was going to do all these things. But Taylor, I remember when we were training for the triathlon, which again was like a very objective goal. But I remember that first day and having no idea how to fucking swim like an actual person, like, you know, head up, flailing around is how I normally swam. And then, you know, we're learning how to do 3 strokes in a breath, and while kicking our feet, while keeping my fingers together, and, you know, like slowing the fuck down a little, like all this stuff. And doing 1 lap at the end of the pool, I was like dead. I couldn't breathe because I wasn't breathing properly underwater and taking big enough breaths when I turned, and made it 1 lap, not even a full lap, you know, just down 25 meters. And I'm like, fuck, this is hard. But then the next day I got down and back. And then the day after that, I could do 100 meters. And then, you know, I can go and swim for 45 minutes without, you know, having to stop. I just nicely, slowly do it. And I remember on that, like, 2nd or 3rd day swimming, being like, this is so fun because I'm so bad at this. And there's so much space to just get better. And I just get to, like, be so present with each stroke. Stroke, keep your fingers together, keep paddling your feet, you know, take a breath, like, all of this stuff. With bouldering, like, it's not flowing at all. I'm on, like, V3s are hard for me. And so it's like I gotta really focus, and I gotta figure out what the fuck I'm doing, and not to T-Rex my arms, but to keep them extended. And, like, I'm just so present. There is no thinking about other shit, you know? And I'm like, that's why I think sports and the play in that manner, these athletic, like, activities are so great for that, because you really are, like, do get to focus on the moment. And yeah, and I'm just like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of what makes it fun. Like, obviously when I'm climbing, I'm
I
trying to get to the top, but it's not like a stranglehold objective that I need this thing. It's like I just get to get there, and if I don't, I fall. But I get to try it again. Like there's no pressure around it. I think there's so much pressure around, especially us three as entrepreneurs, of like making more money and trying to get our clients results, you know, and all of this stuff that comes with that. Where I don't feel that around sports. Like, I'm pretty competitive, and we're playing ping pong at the Bouldering Gym too. And like, I really wanted to win, and I ended up beating this guy, you know, in what do you call it, like overtime, like 25-23. And it's great, but like if I lost, it wouldn't have mattered. It was just so fun to play ping pong again.
I'm curious if you
Yeah,
think that it's coming from naivety,
Mm.
meaning
Probably.
wanting fun or enjoying playing sports when we were kids, or trying something new now. Like I was trying to just have a new thing for a while. Um, and I thought about this because during the men's group, I so thoroughly enjoy it because I have no idea really what's coming, and I'm just like learning. I just get to completely just soak into Taylor and the guys in the group and just listen and learn. I don't have to like know what he's going to say next. There's nothing to that, and I think that happens when you're doing a new activity and when you're a kid. You know t-ball or you know baseball, but you almost don't know. Like Fran, the first time I did Fran was the best time I ever did Fran because I had no idea what it was feeling like, but I couldn't wait to feel it. But I
that was
didn't
the
know what it was
worst.
going to feel it.
Mm.
The first time I did Fran was the worst because I went way too hot. Sorry.
Yeah, but you had no idea. The second time, before the clock said
Yeah,
go,
you knew
was
how
the
bad it would
ultimate
hurt.
worst. Yeah. So I think there's a piece of being naive that actually drives enjoyment.
Yeah, I
Is,
mean,
is
it's all
ignorance
yeah, it's
bliss?
also novelty. Like we need new
Mm,
things.
yeah.
You know, we need new experiences. We need like that's why I don't know. You go travel to Paris or something, and you walk around, and it's like a bunch of buildings, and you're like, wow, this is amazing because I've never seen these buildings before. You know, but it's buildings. Um,
Feelings. So true
yeah,
though. So,
Do you remember
yeah.
who Dr. Steve Brule is? Do you guys remember Dr. Steve Brule on YouTube?
No.
No. Okay, cool. Next time, use the homework. Look that up.
Okay, yeah, you can send us a video. The other thing I heard though is community. I think with people, right?
Mm,
Like, um, I mean, dude, I got so fucking bored doing these 4 or 5 hour runs when you're training for the 100 miler. Like, I just was honestly just tired of it. But then when Tyler and I would go run, like we would be talking about life, but I wasn't like trying to solve a problem. It's just like, oh, this is enjoyable, you know? When we go ride bikes, when like when we would play golf in the summer, like it was just fun to be outside and play golf and drink beers. But when I play golf by myself, I'm like, all right, I got to focus, I got to get better, and I think even when I'm with friends at dinner or just sitting in my apartment, it's like I'm just present. I'm not thinking about being on my phone, and I think that's also why community is so important. You know,
yeah.
being with you guys, I'm so much more present now than maybe if I was on a Zoom call in recording a podcast with someone I didn't know, and it was like okay, I might be like okay, what do I need to add next? I'm like all right, I might want to wrap this up. I got other things to do, but like because I enjoy being with you guys, I'm like just podcasting can feel like work, and that's part of the reason
Yeah.
why we said this because it's like we just enjoying being together. And so like I agree with you like in the sport and the play, because snowboarding's that way. If it's like an awesome group of friends, I don't care what the conditions are. We're just having fun.
Mm,
yeah, I really like the idea of the novelty, and just experiencing something new. I was met this guy, and he had a potluck, and he's a breathwork guy, and we sat down. We all had headphones on. We did breathwork, and then we got up and we did like a silent disco, kind of like ecstatic dance, and like it's the one thing I feel like the most like the very spiritual thing that I just like can't get a grasp on of like just ecstatic dancing. And I can feel that. And I can feel my anxiety around that and the judgment and not feeling like I'm able to let loose. And man, I was sitting there
oh yeah.
I was standing there. I'm dancing. I'm just like kind of dancing. Some people are going nuts. One dude is just like shaking on the floor, and I'm like, can I just like I want to let myself feel how uncomfortable I am right now. Like I'm just gonna sit in the uncomfortability. I just feel this. Like it's awkward. I don't know anyone here. Natalie's first time doing this too, so I kind of peek at her, and I can tell she's got the same energy as me of like not being able to fully let loose. And I'm like, I'm just gonna fucking feel how uncomfortable I feel right now. And it was just an interesting experience. So like all of a sudden being with that uncomfortability was like the act of presence. And instead of worrying about what people are thinking of me, I'm just like feeling uncomfortable. And I don't know how to explain it. It was just such an interesting feeling. And but yeah, it came from that novel experience of like I'm in this new thing, and I just get to be here in this new thing. And it's like I think it's so easy to like I've just moved to Bend, Oregon. I'm gonna join a men's baseball league. Like I am comfortable
Yes.
on the baseball field. So even though it's new people, and I'm probably gonna feel like I want to prove myself, but like I'm comfortable. I will catch the fly balls. I will hit well. I'm not super worried about it. But it's the newness. I mean, I guess there's novelty in that, right? Like new people. Um, I don't know. I'm just
Well,
like,
there's something interesting about that ties back to what we talked about earlier. Is it's like actually not the newness that's uncomfortable. It's the story you have around how you're supposed to act or show up, which goes back to what we talked about earlier. And then the other funny thing is, as a child, the reason we go back to this childlike innocence, whatever, is like everything is new. We don't know what it's like to be an expert at anything. So like we go somewhere new where it's just like we don't know that we're supposed to
Yeah.
behave a different way, or like we're doing something wrong, or like there's a certain way to like camp
Yeah.
or play. There's a certain way to like throw a stick. It's just throwing a stick, you know? And as adults, it's like the older we get, the more we get ingrained in like the ways of being. And I think that's why novelty, even that, there's this term, white belt mentality. It's like doing new things. The more that we can do it just for the sake of doing something new can help us tap into that.
dude, I got to the bouldering gym, and I'm like changing. I'm taking my sweatpants off and into my shorts, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, nobody's wearing shorts. I'm like, everybody's like got like khakis or these like hiker pants on or whatever. I'm like, nobody's wearing shorts.
I would do that.
And I was like, they were kind of like my really like baggy, relaxing sweatpants, and I just feel like they wouldn't be good to climb in. I'm like, I don't fucking care. I'm like, I'm wearing shorts. And then I go for the second time to boulder, and I'm getting ready, and I'm like, I'm wearing shorts again. I'm like, I don't fucking care if this is what people wear. Like, maybe there's a reason for it, and maybe there's like, if I climb more, that I'll have a reason to wear pants. But like, I like shorts. I'm wearing shorts, and I'm like, I don't fucking care. You ain't gonna change me. Suck a dick.
I would have totally put pants on. That's to admit that. I would have totally been affected by that.
Oh, the desire to put pants on
Yeah.
was huge. Trust me.
Yeah.
But that was I don't know. I was like kind of committed to like not doing that. I'm like, I don't have. Sorry, I'm doodling. My camera's shaking. I don't have to like. I don't know. I was just practicing like, I don't get it. I don't have pants that I really like. I'm wearing shorts, and I'm like, I could be uncomfortable and pick some pants. I have these like REI hiking pants that probably would make sense, but I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm good.
Can we see your dance?
My dance
Can we see? Yeah, a little bit of it.
with my
Ecstatic.
Like I mean this is a joke. Like I want to see you do it, but I also don't know what ecstatic dancing is.
It's the whitest thing you've ever heard. It's
It's basically there, like you can do anything. I mean,
Just like-
that's the funny thing.
Just like
you
moving
can do
around?
that.
feel it. Yeah.
Yeah, you could actually have dance moves. You can
Oh,
just
I think I've seen this. Yeah,
be
yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah. It's supposed to be like there's no wrong way in accepting, but it's like
But it
That's what's
feels
funny
so
about this whole
judgy
story.
anyway.
yeah, it's definitely much bigger in like the spiritual community. But
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. You're just kind of letting the body do whatever it wants to do.
yeah,
Essentially.
Okay.
Oh,
So
man.
Tyler, if you want to do a white belt activity, we can go find an ecstatic dance in
Let me
Denver.
just get it. Let me just. Never mind. I'll do it later.
What's something you guys have been wanting to? What's something you've never done but have thought about doing it and just haven't?
Never done.
Okay, for example, stand-up comedy or like an open mic night. I got some jokes in mind. Scares the shit out of me. And it's like it's funny because there are no consequences. I'm not trying to be a stand-up comedian. So like just go up there and if you bomb and get booed or no one laughs, like who even cares? Probably don't know a single person in the audience. But that's something that I'm like I feel like I want to do an open mic night, but it's fucking scary.
Mm.
I want to take a dance class.
Ooh. What kind of
Oh,
dance?
I've actually wanted to do that for a while.
My ex and I did that. Argentinian tango. I'm so bad at
I
dancing.
would love to be really good at hip hop, actually. That'd
Hip
be
hop
sick.
dancing.
Yeah, that'd be
I
sick.
Like
want to do
what do
something
they
more
call it? Like
flowy.
what do they call the footwork?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh my god.
Is it like crump? Is this one right?
That's the Instagram clip
Sure.
right there.
Yeah. No, that's a crowd dance.
I want to do slow stuff, like flowy, slow stuff. You ever seen the people that are just paired with another number and they just have to go?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm.
how awesome is that to just be able to
Yeah.
just feel someone out and just, yeah, so
Yeah,
good.
I'm really bad at that. So I'm
Mm.
like, I consider myself an athlete, but I'm like, I can't dance. I don't, the rhythm is not there for me.
I signed up for ballet classes when I was a kid and went to the store and bought the ballet shoes. And at some point in the almost ready to go to class, like trying the ballet shoes on at the store, I think when we got home and I had to put them on, I just had the moment where I was like, yeah, I can't do this. Never mind. Like I think I wanted to do it, but part of me was doing it because there was like NFL players like now taking ballet classes to
Mm.
improve their agility and control, and I was like, oh, this like I should totally do that. It'll be this like funny thing. I'll be totally going against the grain, and yeah, and then I was just like, this is too embarrassing. I can't do it anymore.
This is great. Now we know how to talk Tyler into doing whatever we want. Just tell him that it's against the
Not
grain.
to do it.
Nobody's doing this,
Be like,
Tyler.
dude, this is so against the grain.
Dude,
You
it's
should
bad.
do
It's not good. Like if we eat the same thing, we get into the same pattern too many times. I don't want to do it anymore just because we've been doing it that way. Like Courtney will want to go for a walk every day we have off at like 2 or 3 o'clock, and I find myself having this like visceral reaction to going for a walk just because we've been going for a walk every single time. I just don't want to do it anymore, even though I like it.
So I feel like it's like the pouring coffee example where you need to either be okay with not doing that, and if she's okay and you have another option, then that's fine too. But if it's like something she really enjoys doing, can you find enjoyment in doing the same thing? You also just sound like such a manifest generator right now. I got like a 6 pack of toothpaste from Amazon, and I'm still working through them for the last like two
Oh my
years.
God.
And it's been the same toothpaste for a while. And for some reason, this one's like there's no blue streaks in it. It's just white, and it tastes a little different. And I'm so excited about it. I'm like, I'm like, fuck! I've been
Wow.
holding the same toothpaste. It's so exciting to have a new toothpaste.
This I I don't know you as well as Taylor does, but this sounds like the most Matt thing that I've heard in a while. Like I got a 6 pack of toothpaste. Just starting a statement like that was just beautiful. I loved it.
Dude, I feel like you as well, where I'm such a psycho on like, I just can't keep doing the same shit. I just can't fucking do it. You know, I'm
Oh,
just like wanting to burn shit down and do something completely new and trying to find how I can create momentum in a thing while also doing a new thing. Like if we were to take my business, like I have this membership to like, can I keep the membership for 5, 10 years? But like the way I build the membership gets to be different. And I don't have an answer for that quite yet.
it. Okay, I'm gonna start wrapping us up because I do have to go for a call soon. Any last parting thoughts?
It was difficult for me to fully settle into this and not be constantly thinking about what my answer was going to be. So that was a nice, fun challenge to like actually do what we wanted to do. It's just talk as boys and as men, and just enjoy each other's presence and also maybe make something cool of it. So that was my challenge today. Yeah.
Yeah, I can resonate with that. I noticed there's something about being on the screen that I feel like is like that versus in person where
Yeah.
we could just kind of chat. Because you can also like feel energy more of like, oh, someone has something to say or whatever. But yeah, I think we got into some good stuff. It was
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Tyler. I feel that too, and like we'll get into a groove. This is another new thing. Even we've all podcasted before, but the three of us podcasting, flowing in the dynamic of it. When Taylor and I had our podcast, when the mic turns on, and even when we're in person, like the mic's on, so we like speak differently and use like different language or even different pronouns in the way of like you guys or anyone listening, and it's like, can we not do that and just talk to each other, pretend there's not a mic, pretend like when you guys FaceTime me from the coffee shop, like how did we
Oh
talk then?
yeah,
Like I want to talk like that, but I know that
so different.
it's different. The
So
mic's
different.
on, the recording button is up there, but I think the more we do this, the more we just flow into doing that. And I've recorded probably, I don't know, close to 300 podcast episodes, and it's still like, even in this setting with you guys, it's just different.
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, do you guys want to share if people want to follow you, find you, what you're doing? No?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been in the rejection of sales energy. I'll go against that, and well, really, I just want to connect with people. I just really do enjoy
Yeah,
like-minded
so where
people,
can they connect to you? You don't have
chatting
to
with
make
people.
a
I'm
sale.
getting there, dude. Really enjoy.
Look, I'm trying to get your 1 minute back that you went over at the beginning.
I'm not getting it, dude. Podcast with someone else if you want those minutes back. Yeah,
Be
just
careful what you say.
connect. If you've gone this far, sick. You're my people. We love you. Hit me up on Instagram, Matthew.Allen with a Y. I'm sure it'll be in the show notes somewhere. And let us know what you liked. We would like to provide more of it. If you have ideas for us, if you have questions, I will get
Ooh.
vulnerable as fuck. I will talk about,
Ooh.
I think, anything.
Q&A could be fun.
I think,
if
yeah.
we sorry not to cut you off, but
But you are.
yeah. I'm just thinking about
Because
man.
it's what
I'm
I
not
do to
sorry
you
because
all
I
the
did
time.
it. So anyways, yeah. If we get some Q&A, that'd be fun.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, follow Matt, Tyler. Where do you want to make a sale? What kind of energy are you in?
I mean, follow me, tylerclacy.dpt. I'm sure Matt or Taylor, whoever's handling this post-production stuff, will put it in the bottom there.
Oh, you
Yeah,
didn't know that
follow
was
it.
your job?
I'm the guy?
I'm the guy. If I get a new account for a podcast thing, it's like $100. Were we chipping in for that?
No.
I don't know. We'll discuss off air.
$30. You buy $30 on a acai bowl, bitch.
I can only do that for 3 months in a row before I get upset about doing that again. So that's my limit.
Wait, what?
This-
Doing what?
Who knows
Acai
how long
bowls?
this is going to be able to happen consistently before my brain says too much.
Oh wow!
Okay, so that's what I'm
So
saying.
our friend.
To make it new and different, you have to then like don't podcast in that location. So you keep podcasting, but just don't do it in that location. Or
I was
like
going to say, I'll
stand
just
up
move you
or
in the screen.
Oh yeah, can I do that?
Take your shirt off.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm trying to move you guys.
Oh, he's doing it. He's doing it.
So does that mean our friendship has a timeline? You're gonna get tired of us?
That makes me feel like you are valuing our friendship based on our ability to create content.
No, you said you get tired of things. That's what I'm referring to.
Oh yeah. Aside from the podcast,
Yeah, not related to the podcast. And I'm just like,
Yeah, I don't-
yeah,
I mean-
I've had the same friends for 2.5 years need to cycle through.
You got to keep
Yeah.
changing. As long as you're changing, as long as you
Well,
like, soon
I
the
said
podcast
I'm
will be
committed to growth.
soon the podcast will be not the guys who you started this business with or something.
Maybe I deep down know that we are supposed to not be friends, and that's just what I really know, as a projector, and I'm just trying to like help you guys understand that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I'm also a projector, and I know that's not true. It sounds like you
Sounds
have
like we're
some.
pointing our wands at each other.
Matt's got a joke in there, but I'm gonna go past it. Sounds like you have some work to do in that black bag of yours to uncover why you can't stick with the same thing.
Oh, we're not supposed to do this today. We got to all the things. We did. We got to every topic today.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
That's a
Okay.
one and done podcast for you.
I am Taylor
That was
Sleeper.
great.
You can follow me on Instagram at Taylor_Sleeper, TaylorSleeper.com. This is beautiful. Until next time, guys. Peace.
Peace.
Love you.